Heaps of STH. A lot of something. The lab received heaps of new samples for analysis. Heavy, force. Using a lot of force. The technician applied a heavy pressure to crush the solid sample. Heir, countable noun. A person who will have the legal right to someone's money and possessions when they die. The scientist's heir inherited the extensive research library. Heritage, uncountable or singular noun. The buildings, paintings, customs, etc. which are important in a culture or society because they have existed for a long time. The laboratory building is part of the city's scientific heritage. Hesitation, countable, uncountable or singular noun. When you pause before doing something, especially because you are nervous or not certain. There was a moment of hesitation before the technician poured the reactive chemical. Hierarchical. Using a system that arranges things according to their importance. The laboratory maintained a hierarchical structure for research responsibilities. Hierarchy, countable noun. A system or organization in which people or things are arranged according to their importance. The university hierarchy determined the allocation of research funds. High, drugs. If someone is high, they are behaving in an unusual way because they have taken an illegal drug. The patient appeared high due to accidental exposure to volatile substances. High profile. A high-profile person or event is known about by a lot of people and receives a lot of attention from television, newspapers, etc. The high-profile experiment attracted international media attention. Hinder, transitive verb. To make it difficult to do something or for something to develop. Limited funding can hinder scientific progress. Hit, think, transitive verb. If an idea or thought hits you, you suddenly think of it. It suddenly hit him that the solution was simpler than expected. Hit a nerve. To upset someone by mentioning a sensitive topic. The comment hit a nerve among researchers. Hit the roof, idiom, a noun. To become very angry and start shouting. The lab manager hit the roof when safety protocols were ignored. Hit the roof, idiom, transitive verb. To become very angry and start shouting. The lab supervisor hit the roof when the safety protocol was ignored. Hold back STH or hold STH back, emotion. To stop yourself showing an emotion. The scientist held back her disappointment when the experiment failed. Hold down a job. To keep a job. She managed to hold down a job while completing her research degree. Hold down a job. To keep a job. Maintaining a stable career can help secure financial independence. Hold off, STH doing STH. To wait before doing something. The scientists held off publishing their results until they verified the data. Hold on to STH SB to hold something or someone firmly with your hands or arms. The technician held onto the delicate apparatus to prevent it from falling. Hold out hope. To think that something is likely to succeed or have a good result. Despite initial failures, the team still held out hope for a successful experiment. Hold STH back, prevent progress. To prevent someone or something from making progress. Lack of funding held the research project back. Hold STH against SB to like or respect someone less because they have done something wrong or behaved badly. She held the assistant against him for mislabeling the samples. Hold your breath, idiom. To wait anxiously for something. Scientists held their breath as the results of the experiment were processed. Hold your breath, idiom, transitive verb. To wait for something to happen, often feeling anxious. The students held their breath as the reaction began to change color. Hold your own. Be equally successful. The team held its own. Hold your own, idiom, transitive verb. To be as successful as other people or things. The young scientist held her own in the international conference. Hold a keep and take SB prisoner. Catch and guard someone. The soldiers held the intruders prisoner until reinforcements arrived. Hollow, nothing inside. Having a hole or empty space inside. The hollow tube was used to transport gases safely. Hollow, without meaning. Without meaning or real feeling. The apology sounded hollow after repeated lab safety violations. Homelessness, uncountable or singular noun. The state of being homeless. Studies on urban populations have shown that homelessness negatively affects health outcomes. Hop, animal, intransitive verb. If a small animal, bird or insect hops, it moves by jumping on all of its feet at the same time. The rabbit hopped across the laboratory floor to escape. Hop, 1 foot, intransitive verb. To jump on 1 foot or to move about in this way. The child hopped on 1 foot while counting aloud during a school science activity. Hopeful, good thing will happen. If something is hopeful, it gives you reason to believe that what you want to happen will happen. The preliminary data were hopeful, suggesting further study was warranted. Hopelessly. Extremely, or in a way that makes you lose hope. The experiment was hopelessly contaminated and had to be discarded. Horizon, countable noun. The line in the distance where the sky seems to touch the land or sea. The sun set over the horizon as the field researchers concluded their day. Horn, music, countable noun. A curved musical instrument that you blow into to make a sound. The band included a French horn to demonstrate acoustic principles. Horrified. Very shocked. The team was horrified to discover a breach in safety protocol. Horrifying. Extremely shocking. The lab accident was horrifying, highlighting the need for stricter controls. Host, television, countable noun. Someone who introduces the guests on a radio or television program. The science show host explained complex experiments to the audience. Hostage, person, countable noun. Someone who is kept as a prisoner and may be hurt or killed in order to force other people to do something. The documentary recounted how hostages were used in political conflict. Hostility, uncountable or singular noun. Unfriendly. Angry behavior that shows that you dislike someone. House, give home, transitive verb. To give a person or animal a place to live. The Wildlife Center houses rescued animals from around the region. House, provide space, transitive verb. To provide space for something. The new facility will house advanced imaging equipment. House, theater, countable noun. The people watching a performance or the area where they sit. The theater house was filled with students attending the science play. How strange, stupid, weird, etc. is that? Said to mean that something is strange, stupid, etc. How strange is it that the chemical changed color without any apparent catalyst? However. In whatever way. However you mix the solution, the reaction will eventually stabilize. Hum, intransitive or transitive verb. To sing without opening your mouth. The hummingbird's wings hum as it hovers in front of the flowers. Humanitarian. Connected with improving people's lives and reducing suffering. The team organized a humanitarian mission to provide clean water. Humanity, being human, uncountable or singular noun. The condition of being human. Studying human anatomy gives insight into the condition of humanity. Humanity, kindness, uncountable or singular noun. Kindness and sympathy towards others. Humanity can be seen in volunteers helping during natural disasters. Humble, not proud. Not proud or not believing that you are important. Despite his discoveries, the researcher remained humble. Humble, poor. Poor or of a low social rank. He came from a humble background before becoming a leading scientist. Humiliated. Made to feel stupid or ashamed. The student was humiliated when his experiment failed in front of the class. Humiliating. Making you feel stupid or ashamed. Presenting faulty data can be humiliating for inexperienced researchers. Humility, uncountable or singular noun. The quality of not being proud or not thinking that you are better than other people. Humility is valued among researchers when acknowledging the work of others. Humor, mood. The way you are feeling or your mood. His good humor helped ease tension in the lab. Hygienic. Very clean so that bacteria cannot spread. The lab maintained hygienic conditions to prevent contamination. Hypocrisy, uncountable or singular noun. When someone pretends to believe something that they do not really believe or that is the opposite of what they do or say at another time. The hypocrisy of claiming eco-friendliness while using disposable plastics was noted. Hypocritical. Hypocritical people pretend to believe things that they do not really believe or that are the opposite of what they do or say at another time. It is hypocritical to advise safety while ignoring lab protocol. Hypothesis, countable noun. A suggested explanation for something which has not yet been proved to be true. The scientist formulated a hypothesis to explain the unexpected chemical reaction. I dare say. Used when you think something is probably true. I dare say the results will confirm our hypothesis. I dare say, a verb. Used when you think something is probably true. I dare say the new procedure will improve efficiency. I don't blame him either mu. Understanding the reason for someone's action. I don't blame them for retracting the study after discovering methodological flaws. I dread to think. Used to say you do not want to think about something worrying. I dread to think what would happen if the samples were contaminated. I dread to think, phrase. Used to say that you do not want to think about something because it is too worrying. I dread to think what would happen if the experiment went wrong. I fail to see, understand. Used to say that you do not accept something. I fail to see how this method improves accuracy over standard protocols. I take it, that, verb. Used when you think that what you say is probably true. I take it that the readings are correct after calibration? I told you so. Used to say that you were right and that someone should have believed you. I told you so, the old calibration method was indeed inaccurate. I told you so, phrase. Used to say that you were right and that someone should have believed you. I told you so, the sample contamination caused the error. Icily. In an unfriendly way or without showing any emotion. The lab supervisor replied icily when questioned about the missing samples. Idle, lazy. Lazy and not willing to work. The idle technician delayed the experiment by not preparing the necessary equipment. Idle, not serious. Not serious or having no real purpose. His idle suggestions during the meeting did not contribute to the research plan. Idol, God, countable noun. A picture or object that people pray to as part of their religion. The temple displayed a gold idol that has been revered for centuries. If you ask me. Used to give an opinion. If you ask me, transparency improves reproducibility in research. If, when push comes to shove, idiom. When something can be done if the situation becomes critical. If push comes to shove, astronauts must follow emergency protocols during space missions. Ignorance, uncountable or singular noun. When someone does not have enough knowledge, understanding or information about something. Ignorance of safety protocols can lead to laboratory accidents. Ignorant. Not having enough knowledge, understanding or information about something. Being ignorant of chemical interactions can be dangerous in a lab environment. Ill at ease. Not relaxed and feeling anxious. The new intern felt ill at ease during the first experiment demonstration. Illiterate. Not able to read or write. A significant portion of the population in the rural area was illiterate, impacting access to scientific literature. Illusion, different, countable noun. Something that is not really what it seems to be. The hologram created an illusion of a three-dimensional molecule. Illusion, false idea, countable, uncountable or singular noun. An idea or belief that is not true. The perception of unlimited resources was an illusion that misled the research team. Illustration, explain, countable, uncountable or singular noun. An example that explains or proves something. The chart provided an illustration of the population growth over decades. Image, idea, countable noun. A picture in your mind or an idea of how someone or something is. The scientist had a mental image of the molecular structure before modeling it on the computer. Imitation, countable noun. A copy of something that is made to look like the real thing. The lab used an imitation bone to demonstrate surgical techniques safely. Immature. Not behaving in a way which is as wise and calm as people expect from someone your age. The intern's immature approach caused minor errors in data recording. Imminent. Coming or happening very soon. The volcanic eruption was imminent, prompting evacuation of nearby areas. Immortal, life. Living or lasting forever. The concept of immortal cells is studied in cell biology through HeLa cell lines. Immortal like memory. Famous or remembered for a very long time. Marie Curie's contributions to science have made her immortal in scientific history. Immune. Not affected by a particular type of behavior or emotion. Certain bacteria are immune to common antibiotics due to genetic resistance. Immune system, no plural. The cells and tissues in the body which make it able to protect itself against infection. A healthy immune system helps fight off viral infections effectively. Impact, hitting, countable or singular noun, usually no plural. The force or action of one object hitting another. The meteorite's impact created a large crater on the planet's surface. Impatience, uncountable or singular noun. When someone is impatient. Her impatience grew as the lab results took longer than expected. Imperative. When an action or process is imperative, it is extremely important that it happens or is done. It is imperative to calibrate the instruments before conducting the experiment. Implementation, uncountable or singular noun. When a plan or system is put into operation. The implementation of new software improved data collection efficiency in the lab. Implication, involvement, uncountable or singular noun. When someone is involved in something bad. His implication in the data manipulation scandal led to disciplinary action. Implication, suggestion, countable, uncountable or singular noun. When you seem to suggest something without saying it directly. The study's findings carry the implication that more research is needed on the chemical's toxicity. Implicit. Suggested but not stated directly. The implicit assumption was that all samples were handled correctly. Imply, must be true, transitive verb. If one thing implies another, the first thing shows that the second is likely to exist or be true. High mutation rates imply that the population may adapt quickly to environmental change. Imply, not direct, transitive verb. To suggest or show something without saying it directly. The report implies that contamination may have affected the results. Import, activity, uncountable or singular noun. When you import something into a country. The import of lab chemicals requires strict safety documentation. Impossibility, countable, uncountable or singular noun. When something is impossible. The impossibility of replicating that reaction under standard conditions challenged the students. Impossible, difficult. Very difficult to deal with. Controlling the temperature precisely was impossible without the correct equipment. Imprisonment, uncountable or singular noun. When someone is kept in a prison. The researcher faced imprisonment for violating legal regulations regarding protected species. Impulse, feeling, countable noun. A sudden feeling that you must do something without thinking about the results. He acted on impulse and recorded data without proper controls. Impulsive. Impulsive people do things suddenly without planning or thinking carefully, but because they want to. Impulsive students often make mistakes in precise experiments. In cause. Used to show when doing one thing is the cause of another thing happening. Errors in calculation resulted in a discrepancy in the final measurement. In a big way. Doing something to a large degree. The initiative succeeded in a big way, increasing lab efficiency threefold. In a big way, adverb. Used to say that someone or something does something to a large degree. The new funding allowed the project to expand in a big way, in a flash. Immediately or very quickly. The experiment results were recorded in a flash by the automated system. In a rut, idiom. In a bad situation where you do the same things all the time or cannot progress. The research team felt in a rut after repeating failed experiments. In all honesty, uncountable or singular noun. Used when you are saying what you really think or feel about something. In all honesty, the experimental results were unexpected. In all likelihood. Almost certainly. In all likelihood, the experiment will confirm the hypothesis. In all probability. Very likely. In all probability, the experiment will succeed given previous results. In anticipation of. Expecting something to happen or in preparation for something happening. The lab prepared extra reagents in anticipation of high demand during the experiment. In anticipation of. Expecting or preparing for. Samples were stored in anticipation of further molecular analyses. In attendance. Present. All board members were in attendance during the emergency session. In attendance. Present at an event. Over 200 scientists were in attendance at the international conference. In cold blood. Cruelly and without emotion. The invasive species destroyed crops in cold blood. In cold blood, idiom. In a cruel way without showing any emotion. The experiment was conducted in cold blood, ignoring ethical considerations. In effect. Used to say what the real situation is. The new safety regulations are, in effect, mandatory for all laboratory personnel. In essence. Used to emphasize the most important idea or quality of something. In essence, the experiment tested the principles of thermodynamics. In favor of SBSTH. If you refuse or get rid of someone or something in favor of someone or something else, you choose them instead. The committee voted in favor of the new experimental design. In hand, countable noun. Being worked on or dealt with now. The current project is in hand and progressing well. In isolation. Alone or separately from others. The virus sample was tested in isolation to prevent contamination. In its infancy. At an early stage of development. Artificial intelligence was in its infancy in the 1950s. In its his with their own right. In a way that does not rely on anything or anyone else. She became a respected scientist in her own right. In memory of SB, done to honor someone who has died. The scholarship was established in memory of the researcher. In miniature. A very small copy. The ecosystem was recreated in miniature. In my humble opinion. Used to give your opinion about something often when you are sure you are right. In my humble opinion, the results should be rechecked for accuracy. In my humble opinion. A polite way to give opinion. In my humble opinion, the method is flawed. In no uncertain terms, phrase. In a direct and often angry way. The head of the lab stated in no uncertain terms that safety protocols must be followed. In no uncertain terms, phrase. In a direct and often angry way. The lead researcher stated in no uncertain terms that data manipulation would not be tolerated.